The following is one of my short stories from my book, Dear Frickin Fear, and I thought I would read it to you. And it has some French words in it, and I don't speak French, so excusez-moi for my pronunciations. This is called The House of Many Colors. I opened my mailbox, and inside was an invite to a party. It came from a friend of mine, Donner Tutamur. Maybe I was popular after all. Woot woot! I was so excited. The party was being held at the Maison de toutes les couleurs. Yeah, I had to look that up. It's French for the House of Many Colors. This sounded so intriguing. I just had to find the perfect outfit. You don't want to make the wrong first impression and never be invited again. That would crush me. Or at least that is what I witnessed happen to people at school. After several hours of trying on clothes from my closet, I gave up and headed to the mall to find an outfit that was worthy of this important occasion. Found some nice blue jeans and a multicolored vintage shirt. According to the salesperson who helped me, I was smoking hot in the ensemble, so I felt confident that the evening at the Maison de toutes les couleurs would be a success. On the day of the party, I was so excited that I arrived an hour early. The House of Many Colors was a huge 5-story Victorian home with a massive entryway. After I walked up the pathway and the wide stairs to the front door, I noticed it was slightly ajar, so I walked inside. I had flashbacks of those scary movies where someone walks in an open door and it ominously closes by itself. Luckily, that did not happen today. It seemed at first that no one was there besides me, but then I heard voices upstairs, so I ascended the staircase to the first level. The walls were completely covered in dark mahogany wood, and the ceilings were tiled in beige. The carpet's Venetian red color and oriental design camouflaged the wear of many footsteps. The lamps that lit the area were dim, but offered enough light to see where I was going. No one was in the hallway, but there seemed to be activity inside the rooms. And I walked to the first room's doorway, and inside was a young man sitting at a meager desk adorned all in blue. He turned to see that it was me in his doorway and said, "Hi, come on in." "Hi," I replied. Before we could continue, a girl dressed in a yellow gown walked into the doorway. The man dressed in blue yelled, "Get out!" The girl ran away from the room crying. I was bewildered and didn't understand his harsh reaction. Seeing the look of confusion on my face, he explained, "Sorry, but you know how it is when people try to come into your space when they're not, well, dressed appropriately. That girl wasn't wearing a stitch of blue." I was still somewhat confused, so he continued. "She should know better. She could have at least put a blue bow in her hair or something," he said. I said, "So, as long as I'm wearing blue, it's okay to come in?" "Well, duh," he replied. "Everyone knows that we are supposed to wear blue. It's the appropriate color." He looked at me like I was stupid. I nodded my head and thanked him for inviting me in. "I think I want to explore the rest of the house. I've never been here before," I said politely. He looked a bit put off. "Suit yourself. Have a ball." He turned away from me and started piddling with something on a shelf. I walked into the hallway and felt relieved to be out of the room. What a jerk. I noticed another room farther down the hallway whose door was ajar, so I slowly approached. As soon as I did, a lady dressed in all white appeared and was smiling as though she was expecting me. She invited me into her room. "Thank you," I said. She happily replied, "You are most welcome. I heard a commotion down the hall. Is everything okay?" "I think so. Just some disagreement with blue being the color to wear or something like that," I informed her. "Oh, that is ridiculous," she exclaimed. I began to nod my head with her in agreement. Then she continued, "Everyone knows white is the only appropriate color." I stopped nodding, and my face glazed with confusion. The lady stared at me inquiringly and as though she was trying to get inside my head. I apologized to her, explaining that I was new to all this color business and wasn't quite understanding the disagreement. Now a confused expression came over her face. She took a deep breath and beckoned me to come sit across from her in a chair. "You seem like a nice enough young man, so let's see if we can resolve the confusion, okay?" I nodded my head in agreement, hoping this wouldn't be too painful and that wouldn't seem extremely stupid. "Didn't your family talk to you about what was right and what was wrong when you were growing up?" she asked. I stumbled over my reply, but eventually got out, "Well, they told me what hurt people and what would cause me danger, stuff like that, but they never mentioned anything about right or wrong colors to wear." The look of uncertainty on her face deepened. "That seems odd. You're sure they never mentioned that white is the only acceptable color?" I nodded my head, agreeing that no, I never heard such a thing. She continued, "Well, my family taught me since my earliest childhood that white is the supreme color, and anyone who says otherwise is delusional and wrong. As long as someone is wearing some white, they at least have some sense. That's why I was glad to see that you have so much white in your shirt." I smiled. It felt good to have some hope that I was on the right path. I blurted out, "My underwear is white too." She blushed. I blushed. I'd shared too much. Trying to change the subject and move on, I asked her what made one color better than any other. That rattled her. "Are you trying to make a joke?" "You're making no sense," she replied. I shook my head and she added sternly, "I think you should leave now." I slowly stood and made my way toward the door, looking back at her, mainly to ensure she wasn't pulling a knife on me or something. These people were odd. I really wasn't sure what was going on. In the hallway, I contemplated just going back downstairs and coming back later, but I heard someone crying in a room across the hall. I glanced in its door to find a man dressed in yellow. The girl from earlier was in the room too, still crying. "Hey, what in the hell are you looking at?" the man yelled. His outcry took me off guard and I stumbled to answer. "Are you the fool who made my dear Jean cry?" he blurted with an angry expression. I finally stammered, No, there was this other guy," he interrupted. "Well, you were in that room, weren't you? And you obviously think yellow is the wrong color because you're hardly wearing any yellow at all. If you belonged with us, you would surely be wearing more yellow, now wouldn't you?" He jumped up from the bed and aggressively charged me, leaning into my face. Then he stepped back and slammed the door. I jumped back just in time. I stood in the hallway in a daze. A calm voice called from down the corridor, asking if I was okay. I turned to see my friend Donner. His grin made me feel at ease. He motioned me to follow him into an elevator at the end of the hallway. He greeted me and shook my hand as we entered the elevator, apologizing for the behavior of his cousins. I have a rather large extended family who've grown up all over the world. They all have their own ideas about how things should be, he rolled his eyes. I tried to be polite. "Yeah, they are kind of different, aren't they?" He continued. "I visited many of them while I was growing up. I realized very early on that they all had their own ideas of what was most important in life. Each of them was obsessed with the colors of their clothing, some being more lenient than others. Ultimately, they were really trying to force others to confirm that their color was the best. Having the chance to visit so many of them, I learned the great qualities about each of their colors. Green brought freedom through love. Blue sparked action through speech, and yellow transformed through laughter. But I also learn not to attach to any one of them exclusively. I'm excited that so many of my cousins are here to visit my family this summer. This will give them a chance to better understand each other. My aunts and uncles, they can be set in their ways, so I wonder whether they can even open up their minds to accept other colors. But I'm hopeful that my younger cousins will start breaking those chains. Who knows? Donner smiled. I smiled back. Who knows? Hope you enjoyed the story. This book was published back in 2017 before, all the social unrest around skin color, and that, of course, is one of the huge points of a story like this, but it also goes beyond just color of skin. It has to do with color of actions, color of political beliefs, religious beliefs, and all sorts of beliefs. So, maybe one day we'll all carry a rainbow flag in our hearts and allow everyone to be who they are openly and lovingly and express who they are, and just maybe one day we'll all just get along. Who knows? You take care. I love you.